আম্বিয়া কি অবস্থা?
মানন ভাই
আমি ঢুকে গেছি। দিলীপ
অ্যাম্বাসাডার
মেসেজ হাই হ্যালো হয়ে গেছে।
Hello, hi, hi, good morning.
Hello, Your Excellency.
Hi, nice to see you.
Good morning. From Bangladesh, Jashwat.
Hello, hi.
Morning.
Excellency, I am
Good morning.
Good to see you all.
Thank you.
নমস্কার স্যার, নমস্কার। May we start now?
শুনেন সিপিপি সাধারণ সম্পাদক বলবে শাহ আলম, কমরেড শাহ আলম। এখন
Shalom. Yes, sir.
একটু পর আপনার নাম ছিল সেলিম সাহেবের, আপনি তো সেলিম সাহেব তো আসে নাই, আপনি যেমন আসছেন।
কাফি রতন
বলবে না।
আচ্ছা
ঠিক আছে, এখন বলেন, শুরু করে দেন।
就是如果是能够想知道我就是越过这个这样的，刚好在上边那里是我读到的位置，最好就是等于你给我滚动的。
Good morning, all. Your Excellency. May we start now? I will request all of you to introduce yourself. First, I request Mr. Dilip Borua to introduce himself, and then other participant and His Excellency also. So let us introduce ourselves. Myself, ABM Khurshid Alam. I am just organizing this Zoom meeting on behalf of Mr. Dilip Borua. Thank you.
My name is Dilip Borua, Chairman, Bangladesh China Silk Road Forum, and General Secretary, Communist Party of Bangladesh, Marxist-Leninist.
May I introduce myself? It's very difficult where to start and where to end, from which side. I'm Sharif Ambia, President Bangladesh Jashwat.
I am Rashid Khan Menon, President Workers' Party of Bangladesh.
I am Mohammad Shalom, General Secretary, Communist Party of Bangladesh.
I am Mohiuddin. I am former president of Chittagong Stock Exchange and the GSA of China Eastern Airline.
Good morning.
আমি এখন বলবো, একটু থাকাও, শুরু করতে।
I think Mr. Syed Abdul Maqsood. Yes, sir. And I see all here. So first, I like to request Mr. Dilip Borua, the former Minister of Bangladesh and presently Secretary General of Bangladesh Sammyabadi Dal and Chairman Bangladesh China Silk Road Forum, to give his introductory remark for this special occasion of 71st anniversary of Chinese 71st founding anniversary of People's Republic of China, and today's discussion of elimination of poverty. He will give some light on this. I'd like to invite Mr. Dilip Borua to open the meeting.
Honorable chief guest of this happy occasion, observing the 71st founding anniversary of the People's Republic of China and elimination of poverty, and other distinguished guests, ladies, gentlemen, other gentlemen, on behalf of Bangladesh China Silk Road Forum, we have organized this seminar, online seminar. And at first, I want to give you the introductory speech. Chief guest, His Excellency Ambassador Li Jiming, and other distinguished guests. The Communist Party of China was founded in 1921 on 23rd July in Shanghai. The birth of the CPC has given a message to the world community that the historical missions of the founding of the CPC has succeeded for the mankind. Followed by the ceaseless struggle and sacrifices of the Chinese people, the new China stood up on the 1st October 1949 under the leadership of the Communist Party of China, which was led by Comrade Mao Zedong. History tells us that the CPC had a deep-rooted connection with the people, and the leaders were firm and committed to their causes and objectives. During the struggle of the party, some mistakes of the leadership may cause catastrophic situation, but the leaders, having taken lesson from the mistakes, moved forward in a determined way. The outstanding quality of the CPC leadership is that they can accurately feel the pulse of the time, social development, and international situation. After the founding of the new China, the leadership led the country in proper way and gradually transformed China as a modern, advanced, and technological developed country in the world. After the collapse of the Soviet Union and in other socialist countries, the communist movement went into the ave, but the leadership of the Communist Party of China gathered experience from the collapse of the different socialist countries, including Soviet Union, and subsequently formulated objective politics on the basis of creative Marxism.
শোনা যায় না তো, শোনা যায় না দিলীপ দা, শোনা যাচ্ছে না।
নেটওয়ার্কের কোনো সমস্যা হয়েছে।
দিলীপ দা অফ হয়ে গেছে, আউট হয়ে গেছে। মোশায়েদ তুমি একটু দেখো, তুমি একটু দেখো, দিলীপ দা মনে হয় আউট হয়ে গেছে।
নেটওয়ার্কের সমস্যা বোধহয় ওনার, ইন্টারনেটের সমস্যা বোধহয় ওনার, কানেকশনে। এখন কিছু করার নাই।
হ্যালো,
কারেন্ট নাই,
কারেন্ট নাই,
সরি কারেন্ট নাই,
মোবাইলটা কিনে ফেলে
নাও ইউ
কারেন্ট নাই, আসছে শোনা যাচ্ছে। Now, in natural way, China has become the center of the international communist movement. Communist movement. In the name of neoliberalism, the Western countries tried their best in different way to transform the color of China, but scientists totally failed and could not manage any opportunity to change China. Rather, the country is developing rapidly with its own model. The COVID-19 pandemic has also exposed deep flaws in the Western country system. China's achievement in its COVID-19 fight is a comprehensive manifestation of the state's capacity and capability. Consequently, the US political scientists fall into a collective anxiety and thus regard China as an ideological enemy. This perspective will continue to exist for a much longer period. Chinese Communist Party, which is led by Comrade Xi Jinping, is upholding the banner of socialism. On this principle of socialist outlook, the Chinese government is continuing to run administration covering every aspect of social development. On the basis of Comrade Xi Jinping's farsightedness and thoughtfulness, the Chinese government has succeeded in controlling the COVID-19 pandemic. The coronavirus has so far caused huge casualties and economic devastation throughout the world and even in China. But the Chinese Communist Party, under the leadership of Comrade Xi, was giving priority to protect human lives, minimizing the number of deaths, concentrating their all efforts on containing the onslaught of the coronavirus, and finally to winning the battle. The Chinese government and the CPC has also sent enormous support materials to different countries and political parties, including Bangladesh, that were required for controlling the pandemic. All this was done prioritizing the ethos of international brotherhood. For these reasons, we extend our heartfelt thanks to the peoples of China, the Chinese government, and the CPC for their solidarity with us. We observe that the Chinese government focused on the genuine economic problems of the country objectively and formulated the pragmatic decision for alternative accelerating momentum of economic growth. At the same time, the government took cognizance of shock of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has put the world economy into a severe recession, disrupt industrial supply chains, and caused a contraction in international trade, investment, and volatility in commodity markets. Furthermore, Chinese government has identified small and medium businesses faces growing difficulties, as well as the pressure on employment issues, which has risen significantly. To gear up the economic momentum, the Chinese government has taken the pragmatic decision like supporting with stimulus packages. Now the people of the world are witnessing all-out success in controlling COVID and the center creating faster economic pace. But on the other hand, the Western countries and their followers are lagging behind in all respects and still suffering from terrible attack of the COVID as well as economic depression. In the prevailing world order, the Chinese people are relatively much better in all respect and moving forward to build up a prosperous and harmonious world. The Chinese government has reformed the policies with the pack of time and is capable of leading the people to brave difficulties to win victory after victory in the revolution, reforms, and economic emancipations. Since its foundation, the Chinese people do everything in their own way and develop their own model on the basis of national interest. After 70 years of the foundations of the PRC, Chinese government has developed their basic foundations of the industrial growth, continues the reforms, defends on technical innovations, and improves the cultural conditions. In this way, China has become the second largest country
শোনা যাচ্ছে না ওইটা শোনা যাচ্ছে না ওইটা আনমিউট করেন আবার মিউট হয়ে গেছে দিলদার ওইটা মিউট হয়ে গেছে আনমিউট করতে হবে।
কারেন্ট গেছে নাকি নাকি
ভুল করে মিউট হয়ে গেছে, আনমিউট করতে হবে।
মিউট হয়ে যায় নাকি বিয়ে ভাই?
হ্যাঁ,
একা একাই মিউট হয়ে যায় নাকি নাকি?
না, মিউট হলে ওনাকে দেখা যেত, উনি অ্যাকচুয়ালি ডিসকানেক্টেড হয়ে গেছে। He got disconnected.
এইগুলি যারা হ্যান্ডেল করতে পারে তাদের একজন
দেখা যাচ্ছে না, আপনি ক্যামেরা ট্যামেরা সব অফ করে দিয়েছেন নাকি? দেখেন তো, ক্যামেরা মাইক সব অফ দেখা যাচ্ছে আপনার।
হ্যালো
হ্যালো
হ্যালো,
I think we lost contact. I rang him. He will try to again reconnect.
আচ্ছা, খুরশেদ ভাই,
I phoned him and he's trying to reconnect again.
খুরশেদ সাহেব,
Yes, please.
আপনি ওই যখন একজন কথা বলবে অন্য সবাইকে বলে দেন একটু আনমিউট রাখতে, মিউট রাখতে, তাহলে হবে কি সবার কথাগুলো সুন্দরভাবে শোনা যাবে। যে যখন কথা বলবে মিউটটা অন করে দিবে।
Okay, I can centrally contact. Okay.
ঠিক আছে, ফোন করে বলেন আপনাদের পাসওয়ার্ড তো পাইনি।
Okay.
দিলীপ, আমি আসছি, আমি মুজাফফর পট্টু, আমি আসছি।
China has become the second largest country of the world from being a semi-feudal, semi-colonial and culturally backward country. This is the glorious achievement of the CPC and its process. The party will lead China to achieve this goal to become the #1 economic giant. After the founding of the PRC, the productions and socio-economic conditions was backward and poverty was the integral part of region's social systems. Gradually, the poverty has become reduced through different steps and reform, but total elimination of poverty was not possible so far. In 2015, after becoming the General Secretary of the CPC, Comrade Xi identified that poverty was the barrier for transforming China as a developed nation. So he identified some stimulus packages, and afterwards, during the end of 2017, China's rural population in poverty dropped to 30.46 million from 98.99 million in 2012, with an impressive reduction rate of 70%. Moreover, following Comrade Xi's party work in the end of 80s, Ningde Prefecture, which was primarily a backward rural area in the Fujian province, developed into a modern and prosperous one. Since then, Comrade Xi have always been trying to transform PRC into a poverty-free nation. Finally, under his able leadership, China is going to become a poverty-free society by 2020. This should be the earth-shaking news, including the Western political scientists. On the basis of the Chinese model, the PRC has stood up as the poverty-free country. It is one kind of revolution to elevate poverty from society which had several thousand years of legacy since primitive society. This could be possible as the Chinese Communist Party had been upholding the banner of Marxism and Leninism and continued to develop the ideology from time to time in localized form by Comrade Mao, Comrade Tang, Comrade Xi to enhance the communist movement. In the similar succession, the CPC, under the leadership of the Comrade Xi Jinping, uphold the banner of socialism and faces all difficulties to build a China as one of the most modern, prosperous, and harmonious country in the world. So it is the great achievements of the Chinese people on the occasion of observing of the 71st founding anniversary of the People's Republic of China. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir, for your nice speech now, although we are interrupted by the power failure. So this time I'd like to request Mr. Muzaffar Hossain Poltu, prominent leader of Awami League and honorable advisor to the President of People's Republic of Bangladesh. Mr. Muzaffar Hossain Poltu. Sir, will you give your remark, please?
Thank you very much. সম্মানিত উদ্যোক্তাবৃন্দ, আজকের এই অনুষ্ঠানে সম্মানিত সভাপতি, উপস্থিত বিজ্ঞ আলোচকবৃন্দ, পিপলস রিপাবলিক অফ চায়নার ৭১তম প্রতিষ্ঠা বার্ষিকী উপলক্ষে আয়োজিত আজকের অনুষ্ঠানে আমি সর্বপ্রথমেই উদ্যোক্তাদেরকে ধন্যবাদ জানাই। সাথে সাথে আজকে চায়না বিশ্বের প্রায় দ্বিতীয় স্থানে পৌঁছেছে, অর্থনৈতিকভাবে বিপুল অগ্রগতি সাধন করেছে এবং আজকে চায়না কমিউনিস্ট পার্টির নেতৃত্বে চায়নায় সমাজতন্ত্র যে লক্ষ্য ছিল সেটা অনেকটাই তারা পরিপূরণ করতে সমর্থ হয়েছে। আমি মনে করি বিগত বছরগুলিতে চায়নার নেতৃত্ব, চায়নার বর্তমান নেতৃত্ব চায়নাকে একটা উন্নতির উচ্চ শিখরে নিয়ে গিয়েছেন। সাংস্কৃতিক ক্ষেত্রে বলেন, অর্থনৈতিক ক্ষেত্রে বলেন এবং শক্তির দিক থেকে বলেন, অনেক দূর এগিয়ে নিয়ে গিয়েছে। আমরা এশিয়ার দেশ হিসেবে চায়নার এই অগ্রগতিকে স্বাগতম জানাই এবং আগামী বছরগুলিতে চায়না আরো সামনের দিকে এগিয়ে যাবে। আজকে বিশ্ব শান্তির ব্যাপারে যে ভারসাম্যের অভাব রয়েছে সেই ভারসাম্যহীনতা চায়না দূর করবে। সাথে সাথে চায়না এশিয়ান কান্ট্রি হিসেবে আমরা যেমন গর্ববোধ করি, সাথে সাথে এটাও অনুভব করি চায়না আজকে এশিয়ার বিভিন্ন দেশের সাথে যে সীমান্ত বিরোধ আছে শান্তিপূর্ণভাবে সেটা নিষ্পত্তি হওয়ার ব্যাপারে সাহায্য করবে, তাদের গুড অফিস অফার করবে এবং নিজেরাও উদ্যোগী হয়ে সমস্ত কিছু এশিয়ার যে আজকে যে দুরবস্থা, একটা অস্বস্তিকর পরিস্থিতি এবং সামরিক মহড়া, এগুলি নিরসনের ব্যাপারে চায়না একটা বিরাট ভূমিকা রাখতে পারে। যেমন আমাদের দেশে ১০-১২ লক্ষ রোহিঙ্গা আজকে এখানে আছে। আমি মনে করি চায়নার এই ৭১তম বার্ষিকী উপলক্ষে ভাতৃপ্রতিম দেশ হিসেবে এশিয়ার আমরা এত বড় অর্থনৈতিক চাপ সহ্য করতে পারতেছি না। চায়না তার গুড অফিস অফার করে যদি মায়ানমারের সাথে কথা বলে আমাদের সাথে দ্বিপাক্ষিকভাবে এই রোহিঙ্গাদেরকে ফেরত নেওয়ার ব্যাপারে তাদের বলিষ্ঠ ভূমিকা পালন করে, তাহলে আমি মনে করি এটা আজকে এই আমাদের এশিয়ার শান্তির রক্ষার ব্যাপারে অনেকখানি সহায়ক হবে। সাথে সাথে চায়না আগামী দিনগুলিতে বিশ্বের সমস্ত সমস্যা নিয়ে বিশ্বের নির্যাতিত নিপীড়িত মানুষেরকে সাহায্য সহযোগিতা করে এবং শক্তিধর দেশগুলি দুর্বল দেশগুলির উপর যেভাবে বিভিন্নভাবে অর্থনৈতিকভাবে বিভিন্নভাবে প্রেশার ক্রিয়েট করতেছে, এই ব্যাপারে তারা ভূমিকা রাখতে পারবে এই প্রত্যাশা করে চায়নার বর্তমান নেতৃত্বকে স্বাগতম জানিয়ে, চায়নার অগ্রগতিকে স্বাগতম জানিয়ে আমি আমার বক্তব্য শেষ করছি। খোদা হাফেজ। জয় বাংলা, জয় বঙ্গবন্ধু।
Thank you very much for your nice speech. I think Honorable Ambassador will understand what you say, especially good wishes for China and the Chinese foresightness of Chinese leadership, and also the progress made in the proud to the Asian people as the China become a developed country. So this time I'd like to introduce Mr. Shah Alam, Secretary General CPB, Bangladesh Communist Party, to give his remarks. Mr. Shah Alam.
আজকের আলোচনা সভার সম্মানিত সমন্বয়ক এবং বিজ্ঞ আলোচক বৃন্দ, উপস্থিত প্রধান অতিথি, আমরা বাংলাদেশের কমিউনিস্ট পার্টির পক্ষ থেকে চায়না কমিউনিস্ট পার্টিকে বাংলাদেশের চায়নার রাষ্ট্রদূতের মাধ্যমে অভিনন্দন জানাই। তাদের এখন একটা গ্লোরিয়াস রোল তারা অর্থনীতিতে, রাজনীতিতে এখন তারা পরিচালনা করছে। আমি যেটি বলতে চাই, আমরা আমাদের পার্টির পক্ষ থেকে চায়নার বিরুদ্ধে নানা ষড়যন্ত্র চক্রান্ত এখন আমরা দেখছি। সেটি হংকং এর ডেমোক্রেটিক আন্দোলনের মধ্যেও আমরা সাম্রাজ্যবাদী শক্তির হস্তক্ষেপ সেখানে দেখছি। জিওপলিটিক্স এর নানা সাউথ চায়না সিতেও সাম্রাজ্যবাদী তৎপরতা দেখছি। এখানে ভূ রাজনীতির মধ্যে নানা বিরোধ আছে, সেই বিরোধগুলোকে নানাভাবে উস্কিয়ে দিয়ে সাম্রাজ্যবাদ তার উদ্দেশ্য হাসিল করার তৎপরতা চালাচ্ছে। আমরা আমাদের এই দক্ষিণ এশিয়াও ভারতের সাথে একটা উত্তেজনা এখন চায়নার সাথে চলছে। সেখানেও বিশ্ব সাম্রাজ্যবাদী শক্তির নেতা আমেরিকান ইম্পেরিয়ালিজম সেখানেও তার একটা ষড়যন্ত্রমূলক ভূমিকা পালন করছে, সেটাও আমরা দেখছি। এখন আমি যেটি বলতে চাই, চায়নার যে অগ্রগতি সম্পর্কে আমি বিস্তারিত ব্যাখ্যায় যেতে চাই না, সেটি আমরা সবাই জানি। অর্থনীতি, প্রযুক্তি, বিজ্ঞান সর্বদিক থেকে চায়না দ্রুত গতিতে এগিয়ে গেছে এবং এগিয়ে যাচ্ছে। 4G টেকনোলজিও জন্য আজকে পশ্চিমী বিশ্ব চায়নার উপর নির্ভর করছে। আজকে STR সায়েন্টিফিক টেকনোলজিক্যাল রিভলিউশন, যেটি 70-এর দশকের শেষের দিকে বিশ্বে শুরু হয়েছে, সেই টেকনোলজিতে চায়না এখন বিশ্বের নেতৃত্ব দিচ্ছে। এই টেকনোলজি আমরা যেটা দেখছি, যে মাধ্যমে এখন আমরা জুমের মাধ্যমে কথা বলছি, যে ইন্টারনেটের মাধ্যমে আমরা কথা বলছি, এইটা কোনো জাতি রাষ্ট্র এই টেকনোলজি ধারণ করতে পারছে না। জাতি রাষ্ট্রের সাথে এই টেকনোলজি, অর্থাৎ এই উত্তরাধিকার শক্তি যেটা আজকে পৃথিবীকে লিড করছে, এইটার সাথে জাতি রাষ্ট্রের একটি সাংঘর্ষিক দ্বন্দ্বমূলক বিরোধ আজকে সৃষ্টি হয়েছে পৃথিবীতে। কোন শ্রেণীও এই বর্তমান উত্তরাধিকার শক্তিকে ধারণ করতে পারছে না। সেই শ্রেণী যদিও এই টেকনোলজিকে তাদের নিয়ন্ত্রণে রাখার জন্য চেষ্টা করছে, বহুজাতিক কোম্পানি বিভিন্ন জায়গায়, সেটি তাদের সাথেই এই টেকনোলজিকে ব্যবহার করতে চায়, সেটা আমরা দেখি। এখন এই টেকনোলজির সাথে আজকে বিশ্ব সাম্রাজ্য বহুজাতিক কোম্পানির স্বার্থ এবং জাতি রাষ্ট্রের যে স্বার্থ, এটা সাংঘর্ষিক হয়। এই টেকনোলজি আজকে মার্ক্সের যেটা আমরা দেখি, মুক্ত মানবের মুক্ত সমাজ প্রতিষ্ঠা করার জন্য এই টেকনোলজি এখন সহায়ক। মুক্ত মানবের মুক্ত সমাজ ছাড়া এই টেকনোলজিকে আর ধারণ করা, আমি আগে বলেছি, জাতি রাষ্ট্র এবং বহুজাতিক কোম্পানির পক্ষে সম্ভব না। এখন বিজ্ঞান কি কৌশল, এটি কি পুঁজির দাসত্ব করবে, নাকি ওয়েলবিং অফ পিপল, মানুষের সেবার জন্য এটি আজকে কাজে লাগবে? এখানে চায়নার একটা প্রতিরূপ ভূমিকা থাকা দরকার। চায়না কমিউনিস্ট পার্টির নেতৃত্বে আজকে দেশ পরিচালনা করছে। সে মুক্ত সমাজ প্রতিষ্ঠা করার জন্য
কিন্তু এতগুলা ছবি আসতেছে একসাথে, এতগুলা ছবি দরকার নাই।
পরিবেশিক মানে প্যারিস শান্তি চুক্তি থেকে কথা বলছেন, প্যারিস শান্তি চুক্তি থেকে মানে আমেরিকা বেরিয়ে গেছে। এটাকে রক্ষা করার পক্ষে চায়নাকে দাঁড়াইতে হবে। WTO-তে এখানে অনুদান চায়না বন্ধ করে দিয়েছে। এই কোভিড, আমরা যে করোনা ভাইরাস কোভিড যে মহামারী আমরা দেখছি, এখানেও চায়নাকে বর্ধিত ভূমিকা পালন করতে হবে ভ্যাকসিনের ক্ষেত্রে। এবং WTO-তে ফান্ড WTO-তে ফান্ড সেখানে বাড়াইতে হবে। WTO না, এই ওয়ার্ল্ড স্বাস্থ্য সংস্থাতে আজকে চায়নার ফান্ড বাড়াইতে হবে। ভ্যাকসিনের ক্ষেত্রে মানবিক দৃষ্টিকোণ নিয়ে চায়নাকে বর্ধিত ভূমিকা পালন করতে হবে। আর যেটি টেকনোলজি আজকে বিশ্ব মানবতার পরিবেশ সৃষ্টি করেছে, অবজেক্টিভলি যে পরিবেশ সৃষ্টি করেছে, সেখানেও চায়নাকে বর্ধিত ভূমিকা পালন করতে হবে। জাতি রাষ্ট্রের ধ্যান ধারণা থেকে উঠে সবাইকে এই কাজটা করতে হবে। তাহলে চায়নার যে আজকে সিল্ক রোডের যে ইনিশিয়েটিভ, এটাকে ব্লকেট করার জন্য নানাভাবে চেষ্টা করছে সাম্রাজ্যবাদ। এবং এখানে এই কাজগুলো যদি চায়না এই বিশ্ব মানবের মুক্তির লক্ষ্যে এই চায়না এই নেতৃত্ব দেয়, তাহলে চায়নাকে যে ব্লক করার চেষ্টা করছে সেটা সে পারবে না। পৃথিবীর বিভিন্ন দেশ চায়নার পক্ষে দাঁড়িয়ে যাবে এবং এগিয়ে আসবে। আমরা এই প্রত্যাশা ব্যক্ত করি। আর অন্য কোনো কথা আমি বিশেষ বলতে চাই না। এই নেতৃত্ব চায়না দেখ বিশ্ব মানবের মুক্তির নেতৃত্ব, পুঁজির দাসত্ব থেকে বিশ্ব মানবকে মুক্ত করার নেতৃত্ব চায়না দেখ। এটা আমরা বাংলাদেশের কমিউনিস্ট পার্টি প্রত্যাশা করি। আবারও সবাইকে শুভেচ্ছা এবং ধন্যবাদ জানিয়ে আমি আমার বক্তব্য শেষ করলাম। ধন্যবাদ।
Thank you very much, Mr. Shah Alam, for your insightfulness on the role of Chinese leadership for the global community. Now I'd like to request Mr. Syed Abul Maqsood, eminent writer and columnist, to give his comment on this occasion of 71st founding anniversary. May I mention here that this program is going to be recorded and it will be again broadcast in our Facebook page of the Silk Forum. Thank you. Mr. Syed Abul Maqsood.
আমি ফোন করছিলাম। জি ধন্যবাদ। আমি আরো ফোন করছিলাম আমাকে দেওয়ার জন্য তাড়াতাড়ি, কারণ এটা আমারই হয়ে যাবে। এটা মাননীয় সভাপতি কমরেড দিলীপ বড়ুয়া এবং চিফ গেস্ট হিজ এক্সেলেন্সি দি অ্যাম্বাসেডর অফ দি চাইনিজ গভর্নমেন্ট, সম্মানিত অতিথিবৃন্দ, আমি কমরেড দিলীপ বড়ুয়াকে ধন্যবাদ জানাই যে তিনি এই গণপ্রজাতন্ত্রী চীনের প্রতিষ্ঠা বার্ষিকী উপলক্ষে দারিদ্র বিমোচনের বিষয়টিও এই সেমিনারে যুক্ত করেছেন। কারণ দক্ষিণ এশিয়ার এখনো কোটি কোটি মানুষ দারিদ্র সীমার নিচে রয়েছেন। বিশেষ করে বাংলাদেশ, নেপাল, ভারত, পাকিস্তান, চীন, এই দেশের বহু মানুষ এখনো সুন্দর জীবনের সাক্ষাৎ এখনো পায়নি। সুতরাং এই চীনের যে সাফল্য দারিদ্র বিমোচনে, চীনের কমিউনিস্ট পার্টির যে ভূমিকা গত 70 বছরে, চীন এমন একটি মডেল তৈরি করেছে যে মডেল যদি অনুষ্ঠিত হয় সারা পৃথিবীতে, বিশেষ করে তৃতীয় বিশ্বের দেশগুলোতে, তাহলে দারিদ্র একদম নির্মূল যদি নাও হয়, একেবারেই সহনীয় পর্যায়ে চলে আসবে। আজকে পৃথিবীতে যে সামরিক ভারসাম্য এবং অন্যান্য অর্থনৈতিক ভারসাম্য ইত্যাদি তৈরি হয়েছে, সেই ভারসাম্য যদি দূর না হয় তাহলে দারিদ্র বিমোচন। চীন গত 70 বছরে বিভিন্ন পার করে এসেছেন, তাদের বিভিন্ন নেতা বিভিন্ন সময় চীনকে এগিয়ে নিয়ে যাওয়ার জন্য যে ভূমিকা রেখেছেন, কমরেড মাও সেতুং থেকে শুরু করে কমরেড শি পর্যন্ত, আমি তাদের সকলকে ধন্যবাদ জানাই, সকলের প্রতি আমি শ্রদ্ধা জানাই যে তারা পৃথিবীকে, বিশেষ করে তৃতীয় বিশ্বের দেশগুলোতে একটা মডেল তৈরি করতে পেরেছেন, তাদের তৃতীয় বিশ্বের দেশগুলোকে একটা দিক নির্দেশনা দিতে পেরেছেন। কাজেই এই দারিদ্র বিমোচনের বিষয়টি, এটা বিশেষ করে এই করোনার এই প্যান্ডেমিকের পরে পৃথিবীর যেখানে 1/3 মানুষ নতুন করে দরিদ্র হয়েছে, এই অবস্থায় সাম্যবাদী দলের পক্ষ থেকে কমরেড দিলীপ বড়ুয়া দারিদ্র বিমোচনের বিষয়টিকে প্রাধান্য দিয়েছেন এবং চীনের মডেল কিভাবে এই দারিদ্র দূর করার উপায় বাতলে দিচ্ছে সেই বিষয় নিয়ে আলোচনার জন্য আজকে এখানে যারা আছেন তারা বাংলাদেশের বামপন্থী আন্দোলনের প্রত্যেকেই দিকপাল, তারা বলবেন। তবে আমি সংক্ষেপে যেটা বলতে চাই সেটা হলো যে চীনকে যেহেতু শুধু আঞ্চলিক সুপার পাওয়ার নয়, চীন বিশ্বের একটি সুপার পাওয়ার, সেই অবস্থায় তাকে এমন কিছু ভূমিকা পালন করতে হবে যাতে এই অঞ্চলের শান্তি এবং স্থিতিশীলতা বজায় থাকে। আমাদের রোহিঙ্গার ব্যাপারে বাংলাদেশ যে বিপন্ন অবস্থার মধ্যে পড়েছে, এই অবস্থাটিতে গুরুত্বপূর্ণ ভূমিকা পালন করতে হবে। যেহেতু মিয়ানমারের উপরে চীনের প্রভাব সবচেয়ে বেশি, সুতরাং এই রোহিঙ্গা সমাধানে মিয়ানমারকে যাতে চীন বাধ্য করতে পারে যে তারা যাতে এই 10-11 লক্ষ রোহিঙ্গাকে, তাদের নাগরিককে বাংলাদেশ থেকে ফিরিয়ে নিতে পারে। এই করোনার সময় নতুন করে কতগুলি সমস্যা সৃষ্টি হয়েছে, আমরা আঞ্চলিক শান্তিও প্রত্যাশা করি। সেই শান্তি প্রত্যাশায় যেহেতু চীন বিরাট শক্তি এই এশিয়ার, সুতরাং তাকে ভূমিকা পালন করতে হবে শান্তিপূর্ণভাবে যাতে সমস্ত সমস্যার সমাধান হয়। ভারতের সঙ্গে সীমান্ত সমস্যা সৃষ্টি হয়েছে, সেটারও আমরা শান্তিপূর্ণ সমাধান চাই। এবং চীন বাংলাদেশের আর্থসামাজিক উন্নয়নে গত কয়েক দশক যাবৎ যে ভূমিকা পালন করছে, আমাদের বিভিন্ন বড় বড় প্রকল্পে চীনের কারিগরি সাহায্য, চীনের অর্থনৈতিক সাহায্য, এই জিনিসগুলি আমাদের জন্য অত্যন্ত আমরা কৃতজ্ঞতার সঙ্গে স্বীকার করি। এবং ভবিষ্যতেও বাংলাদেশের সঙ্গে চীনের এই অর্থনৈতিক, সাংস্কৃতিক, রাজনৈতিক সব ধরনের সম্পর্ক অক্ষুণ্ণ থাকবে, আমি এই প্রত্যাশা করি। এবং মাননীয় রাষ্ট্রদূতকে আমি স্বাগত এবং ধন্যবাদ জানাই। আপনাদের সকলকে ধন্যবাদ।
Thank you very much, Syed Abul Maqsood, for your nice speech, especially mentioning the how to Chinese model will be adopted in South Asian region for the poverty alleviation, and also mentioning the Rohingya issues and solicited help from China. Thank you very much. Now I like to request Mr. Sharif Nurul Ambia, President Bangladesh Jashod. Mr. Sharif Nurul Ambia, President Bangladesh Jashod.
Mr. President, Dilip Borua, leader of Bangladesh Samabadi Dal, His Excellency, the Ambassador of People's Republic of China, distinguished guest. It's my pleasure to speak on the occasion of 71st founding anniversary of People's Republic of China in this global pandemic situation. We everybody know that China is a huge country, by huge area, by huge population and economy also. It has its footprints in the advanced technologies in most of the areas of present civilization. It is no distance country now. People of all nations around the world feel the presence of China in most of the aspects of life, science, and technology. We would like to mention what China has done for us in this Corona COVID-19 situation by active participation, active support, as how to contain the corona in our densely populated country. And it's for all over the world. What China has done is unparalleled in containing the corona pandemic. And this unparalleled experience should be taken in experience all over the world, and everybody is taking that, whatever they say, but they have accepted it. We also like to mention the contribution of China along the infrastructural development in our country. As the time is very short, I don't want to extend much. I want to congratulate the people of China, the Communist Party of China, and the leader of Communist Party, Mr. Xi Jinping, for his innovative leadership, so that the people of the whole world get emancipated. As my personal experience, when I visited China, I could see the Communist Party of China was successful in inspiring the people of China in the bottom to become a rich nation and to remain united against imperialism. The world is of diversity, by color, by creed, by political system, by history, and so many things, by culture. And in this diverse world, people of China, the Communist Party of China has enough to contribute because they're in the advanced situation. They are in the leadership from the front. We are proud of our sacrifice in the liberation war. We are fighting for democracy, social justice, and the human equality at present. And we hope that we can gather experience what the Chinese people has done and now doing all over the world. On this 71st founding anniversary of PRC, we hope the wise leadership of Communist Party of China, they will contribute with their role to make a harmonious society, so that the world is free of different calamities, social, political, as well as many other things, promote the peace movement and the equality of mankind in practice. I don't want to extend my words. I want to congratulate Mr. Dilip Barua for organizing this meeting and giving me opportunity to speak on this great occasion. Thank you. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangladesh. Long live China-Bangladesh friendship.
Thank you, Mr. Sharif Nurul Anbiya, for your nice speech. Now I'd like to invite Mr. MD Hassanul Haq Inu, MP, former minister and prominent politician, president of JASOD. Mr. Hassanul Haq Inu.
Thank you very much. I hope everybody can hear me. Okay with the mic? Yes. Are you listening? Okay, thank you. Mr. President of this discussion and His Excellency, the Chinese Ambassador of the People's Republic of China, prominent leaders, dignitaries and national leaders. I, on behalf of Jatiyo Samajtantrik Dal Jashore, greet you all on the 71st founding anniversary of China. Let me pay my tributes first to the founding leaders and founding fathers, Chairman Mao Zedong and other leaders who achieved a successful revolution and helped China, led China on the path of socialism. Today, on the 71st founding anniversary, let me mention that Communist Party of China has been advancing Chinese revolution by restructuring and modernizing socialist system with Chinese characteristics without compromising the basic principle of Marxism and Leninism and scientific socialism. CPC and the peoples of China has achieved unprecedented social and economic development and proved the superiority of socialism over capitalism. Now, from 2015, General Secretary, His Excellency, Comrade Xi Jinping, with his new era political thought, shared future, has been playing the most powerful drive in the present world politics. Ladies and gentlemen, having said that, when we are celebrating the 71 founding anniversary of China, the whole world is hit by pandemic and we are combating a common enemy, COVID-19. But before this COVID-19 crisis, the peoples of the world and also the developing countries of the world were witnessing the uneven globalization process led by America, Europe, and the big capitalist countries. They and this uneven globalization miserably failed to reduce the socio-economic digital divide and also could not address the problems of climate change. They also, this uneven globalization could not solve the ongoing problem of poverty and inequality. Now, when this COVID-19 crisis began, it has exposed the weaknesses of the socio-political economic structures and setup of all developed and developing countries. Mighty economies and countries miserably failed in coping up with the public health, service demand, food demand, etc. On the other hand, we are observing the countries and states governed by the communist, socialist, and left parties have performed better to combat COVID-19. It is time for the mankind, for the nations and countries, states for more unity, more solidarity, more fraternity and cooperation. But unfortunately, we are observing hate, blame game, geopolitical rivalries, trade wars and conflicts and unilateralism. These are all threats to the world peace, world bodies and multilateralism. It is also very unfortunate to label COVID-19 as Chinese virus. Let me mention very categorically that viruses do not have any race, religion, caste, nation or country. viruses are common enemy to the whole mankind. So we must pledge to fight COVID-19 unitedly and together. So also, we are observing there are tendencies to engulf corona vaccine within the fume of geopolitical rivalries, trade wars, and monopolism. Well, this is also a bad tendency. Virus is a right for every human being. We should look in that manner. Now, on the 71 founding anniversary, I, from my party, Jashore, categorically say the time has come to review the whole systems of the developed and developing countries if we want to meet the challenge of the United Nations Sustainable Goals 2030. The so-called free market economy and capitalist model has practiced across the world has miserably failed to check the madness of the market and eradicate poverty and inequality. So we need a paradigm shift. And for that, we must say goodbye to the capitalist economy and march ahead towards a socialist roadmap to develop economies in light of socialism. For that, we need to develop a system where the role of state is to be redefined and needs to be coordinated with social needs, market forces, and private entrepreneurships. A four-dimensional coordinated approach for economic management and planning that can address poverty and inequality. So, now at the present moment, if we need to check poverty, eradicate poverty, immediate necessary steps from our side, we propose that immediately we need to declare universal healthcare system, universal food security system, universal social security system, universal education system, and lastly, right to internet as basic human rights, so that the state has a compulsion to ensure these 5 basic human rights. Having said that, let me say on the founding anniversary of China that we need a very close cooperation between the communist, socialist, and left parties to meet effectively the global and regional and national challenges. Here, Chinese Communist Party has shown to the world that every country has its own development path, own development model. So, right to own path towards socialism, right to own path towards development is a basic right of every country. There should be no interference in this process. So following a political process, following an economic process is a basic right of a country and should be honored by everybody. I, on the founding anniversary, clearly say that we believe in one China policy. So anything against one China policy is not good for world peace and not good for regional peace. So let us, on this 71 anniversary, we from Bangladesh and from my party, we think let us march ahead with the flag of socialism, on the path of peace, development, fraternity, and unity, holding high the flag of socialism. Lastly, I say long live the communist and socialist fraternity, long live Bangladesh-China friendship, Joy Bangla. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your very thoughtful discussion and delivery. Now I'd like to request Dr. Abdul Muin Khan, prominent politician and member standing committee of BNP, Dr. Abdul Moin Khan.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, respected Dilip Barua, Honorable Chief Guest, His Excellency Mr. Li Jiming, distinguished participants in today's meeting, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great privilege for me to be here this morning to be a part of the discussion meeting. I would use the word celebrating rather than observing, celebrating the 71st anniversary of the People's Republic of China and its implication and the role of China in poverty alleviation. Thank you, Mr. Barua, for organizing this wonderful meeting. Today, we come here to celebrate the People's Republic of China, the establishment of the People's Republic of China and remembering the 1st of October 1949, 71 years ago. China is the largest country in the world in terms of population. China is the 3rd largest country in the world in terms of area. And may I say, within the span of less than 50 years of its establishment, China has become the 2nd most powerful economy in the world. This is great achievement. And China continues to play its role in global economy. And we in Bangladesh gratefully acknowledge being a beneficiary of China's economic support for the people of Bangladesh. China comprises of 22 provinces, as you know, and 5 administrative regions, 4 directly supported municipalities, and 2 special administrative regions, Hong Kong and Macau. But that's not the whole story of China. What I believe and what I understand of the greatness of the People's Republic of China is that China had been established not only to protect China, not only to protect the Chinese people, but also to protect the downtrodden people of the whole world. That is where China stands above everyone else. We gratefully acknowledge that. Maybe today I can very briefly mention the history of the celebration of the establishment of China. Starting from day 1 in Tiananmen Square, for 10 years until 1959, there were big celebrations on the anniversary of the People's Republic of China. While after 1959, it was emphasized by then leaders of China that it is needed to employ austerity. And then the celebration was done in a subdued scale. And it was decided that the big celebrations will be done every 10 years. And every 5 years, there will be celebration in a smaller scale. And in view of that, we have seen the celebrations of 1984, the 35th anniversary. In 1999, the 50th anniversary, 2009, the 60th anniversary, and 2019, the 70th anniversary. May I take the privilege of mentioning that I personally became involved in the 50th and the 60th anniversary of the People's Republic of China. And very much in my home, I had the great honor to invite the Chinese ambassador, along with the chairperson of the BNP, Begum Khaleda Zia, in 2009 and in 1999. I remember those two occasions as great moments of my own life. Thank you, His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador. I also had the privilege to welcome your Honorable President when he first visited Bangladesh as the then Vice President. And I was given the humble opportunity to welcome your President to Bangladesh, which was his first program in Bangladesh at Hotel Sonargaon. And this opportunity was provided by then Ambassador of China to Bangladesh. These are great occasions in my own life. And I very dearly remember them and cherish them in my mind. Today, we remember the immense support that is being provided by the People's Republic of China for the people of Bangladesh. Your Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, may I say that Bangladesh is possibly one of the few countries of the world which picked up its own name as the People's Republic of Bangladesh, following your guidance and following the name, the official name of your country, People's Republic of China. This proves by itself how much dear China is in our own minds. And may I remind you, Your Excellency, that the renewed diplomatic relationship with China was started by our leader, late President Zia Rahman, after we achieved our independence. These are hallmarks in the history of friendship between China and Bangladesh. Mr. President, I'll not take much of your time. I'll conclude by mentioning just a few more points. Number one, the Belt and Road Initiative. As you know, the whole world acknowledges today that the Belt and Road Initiative is the largest economic development project ever taken in this world. And that is being initiated by China. So it's a project to be completed in 2049 to coincide with the centennial celebration of the People's Republic of China. And this is a project which we believe will bind all the countries of the world together through our economic cooperation. I appreciate that China, instead of military influence around the world, have taken the policy of economic cooperation with the rest of the world, in particular with the poorer countries of the world, to bring them to a level of economy where the poorer people of the whole world can live in a certain in a certain level, so that people's equality is established and people all live equally with the basic principles of the policy of the establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949. Because the whole idea globally is that we must alleviate poverty, and poverty alleviation has been added to the title of today's seminar. Excellency, Mr. President, I will conclude by saying that the friendship between China and Bangladesh will continue, and it will continue forever. We in Bangladesh appreciate the technological advancement of China, We have seen how China has handled the COVID problem and how China helped Bangladesh in managing our COVID situation. We very much appreciate your support in this respect. Your Excellency, on this great day, we believe that today will be a milestone. Today will be another milestone in the history of friendship between People's Republic of China and the People's Republic of Bangladesh. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for a nice speech. Now I'd like to request Mr. Rashid Khan Menon, MP, former Minister of People's Republic of Bangladesh, eminent politician and President Workers' Party. Mr. Rashid Khan Menon, please, sir.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, Comrade Dilip Barua, General Secretary of the Bangladesh Communist Party, Marxist-Leninist, Chief Guest, Excellency Ambassador, and other national leaders, and the eminent people who have joined us in this seminar. I, on behalf of the Workers' Party of Bangladesh and on my own behalf, would like to congratulate the people of People's Republic of China, the government, and the Communist Party of China under the great leadership of Comrade Xi Jinping on this great occasion of the founding of the Republic of China. But on this day, when China was founded, Comrade Mao Zedong, standing on the podium on Tiananmen Square, has declared that China has stood up. And really, China not only stood up for itself, for its own emancipation, for its own development, but also it stood up for the whole world, for the whole world people, particularly people of our area, those who are living in a condition of under colonialism and neo-colonialism. So we pay our respect and thanks to the leadership of the People's Republic of China that with the emancipation of China, the prospect for the emancipation of the mankind has really increased. And we are now also seeing in this time of COVID-19, when the world is reeling under this tiny virus, China has not only fought it out in a most praiseworthy way under the leadership of the great leader Xi Jinping, but also extended its helping hand to other countries. We thank very much China and the Chinese government and the Chinese people for extending help to Bangladesh, for sending in the medical experts to advise our doctors and health workers. Thank you very much, Excellency Ambassador, for arranging those visits. And also thank you very much for extending help to our parties, the left parties, which has relation with we extend our thanks to CPC, IPDC for extending, giving us some masks and some medicines and other things. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I thank Mr. Dilip Barua for selecting the subject of poverty abolition on this very great occasion. Yes, poverty is now the most important question. Under COVID-19, the world has become more poor, and Bangladesh, though it achieved about successful about achieving people under 25, about 21% of people under poverty line. Now we are apprehending that it would be double very soon. And unfortunately, the policies that are being pursued throughout the world, the new liberal policies that are being pursued throughout the world, is going to make people more poor in the future, even after COVID-19. Excellency and comrades, friends, through the decades, the world situation has changed. The capitalist exploitation continues with the new icon of neoliberalism. The world is forwarding towards a critical polarization of new type of Cold War. The outbreak of COVID-19 has accelerated the process on the brink of this colossal threat of existence of human race. We are observing a new threat of authoritarianism, hegemony, and arms competition. Global economy is on the brink of great recession and collapse. When a global cooperation is needed, we find the threat of non-cooperation, economic sanction, racism, and xenophobia globally. We gratefully thank People's Republic of China under the leadership of CPC and Comrade Xi Jinping with a great spirit of Chinese revolution to build up socialism of Chinese characteristics and uphold the initiative of international cooperation and fraternity to face this global change. Gentlemen, we think the People's Republic of China under the leadership of CPC has reached the following three substantial achievements through the 7 decades. Number one is tremendous economic progress to be the second largest economy of the world as per nominal GDP and the largest as per GDP. Substantial success in poverty alleviation, propagation of the initiative of cultural, mutual, regional, global cooperation to the concept of project of BRI and BRICS. That created the alternative and hope for the global advancement. Comrades and friends, I'd like to take the opportunity to say a few words, especially about the success of People's Republic of China under the leadership of Communist Party of China to alleviate the poverty of Chinese people through the struggle of decades. So far we know from the information and global statistics, as the largest developing countries in the world, on the basis of GDP and second largest economy, the People's Republic of China has made tremendous achievements in poverty reduction since its founding 7 decades ago. As we know, the documents, there are 6 phases of achieving this goal. From 1949 to 1978, China undertook poverty reduction in broad sense under the planned economy system. Following the founding of the PRC, the Communist Party of China led the Chinese people in carrying out socialist construction. The establishment of that socialist system and the development of national economy provided the most basic institutional and material guarantee for fundamentally solving the problem of poverty. The basic social security system based on the 5 guarantees and the relief for the extremely poor was formed. China reduced rural poverty nationwide for the first time. By 1978, according to the then poverty line of China, the number of poor people in rural areas had dropped to 250 million, according to accounting for 25.7% of the total poor Chinese population. The incidence of poverty in rural areas at that time was around 30.7%. From 1978 to 1985, the rural economic system was reformed, which greatly further advanced poverty reduction. In this stage, the reform of the rural land system, market system, and the employment system played a major role in alleviating poverty. From 1986 to 1993, the poverty alleviation to regional development was implemented. During the period of imbalance in regional development became prominent, and the economic, social, and cultural development of rural areas, especially that of remote and frontier areas, began to lag far behind the developed coastal areas, becoming a policy issue required special treatment. Measures needed to be carried out in its organized plan and large-scale manner. The CPC Central Committee took comprehensive policy to fight the challenge. From 1994 to 2000, a comprehensive poverty alleviation campaign was carried out. This phase was marked by the issuing of National Poverty Alleviation Plan of March 1994 that vowed to provide 80 million more people proper food and clothing within 7 years. Besides, the plan pointed out that the focus was properly allocating poverty alleviation funds, effectively implementing poverty alleviation projects, and bringing two benefits to poor townships, poor villages, and poor households. As a result, poverty alleviation transformed from moral to institutional support, from giving the poor relief to helping them develop, and from supporting poor areas, mainly poor counties, to supporting poor villages and households. From 2001 to 2022, counties in the central and western region of China of 150,000 poor villages nationwide were designated as key targets for poverty alleviation. The target for poverty alleviation has been implemented since 2013. China, under the leadership of CPC, made a decision in 2015 to win the battle against poverty, set the goal of lifting all the poor out of poverty by 2020. I had the opportunity of visiting China at the time and discussing this issue with many of those who are involved in poverty alleviation projects. We have seen with our own eyes how this is being done. Over the past 40 years of reform and opening up, the income of the rural residents has continued to rise. Their living standards have been notably improved, and the number of poor people has dropped significantly. China's achievements have attracted global attention. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, in his letter to 2017 Global Poverty Reduction and Development Forum, spoke highly of China's targeted poverty alleviation. China has lifted hundreds of millions of people out of poverty, and its experience is useful for other developing countries like ours, who are really to fight poverty for advancing our country to a developed state and to a modern state, which we look forward to doing in 2021 and also in 2041. Comrades, I again take the opportunity of convey our congratulations to Chinese people and CPC for their outstanding achievement through these 7 decades, passing through different ups and downs and homages to the martyrs and of the revolution and struggles. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to all the national leaders and His Excellency Ambassador. Thank you very much. Long live the fraternal relationship between the communists and the socialists of our country with the CPC, and long live the relation between the peoples of the Republic of China and the people of Bangladesh. Long live Bangladesh-China friendship. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rashid Khan Menon, MP, for your good speech. Now we are all waiting for the speech of His Excellency Honorable Ambassador, Mr. Li Ziming. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Li Ziming, His Excellency, please start your speech. Thank you.
主播 Shoko and His Excellency Mr. Rashid Khan Momen, President of Workers' Party of Bangladesh, His Excellency Mr. Abdul Moyen Khan, member of the Standing Committee of Bangladesh Nationalist Party, and His Excellency Mr. Hassanul Haq Inu, President of Jatiya Samaja Tantrik Dal, His Excellency Mr. Sharif Noor Ambia, President of Bangladesh Jatiya Samaja Tantrik Dal, and of course His Excellency Mr. Dilip Barua, Chairman of Bangladesh-China Silk Forum. It's my great pleasure to be part of this seminar and to be with all the distinguished speakers and participants from a wide range of political parties and the social sectors. First of all, I'd like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to with you some highlights of the poverty alleviation experiences of China. The year 2020 marks the 71st anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. For 71 years, the Communist Party of China, or CPC, has led the people in our common endeavor to promote rapid development in the country. Over the past decades, the Chinese nation has stood up, united together, and grew rich and become strong. This year, China schedules to achieve moderately prosperous society in all aspects and eliminate extreme poverty out of the country. We call eliminate, not just elevation, which is our nation's dream for thousands of years, not only for decades. Why I use the word thousands of years? Because the idea of moderate prosperity is actually from Confucius, which is, you can read it back to about 2,000 years, more than 2,000 years. The entire Chinese nation is working doubly hard to accomplish these historic goals. At the same time, however, the sudden outbreak of COVID-19 has brought the most severe public health crisis probably since the end of World War II. Through painstaking, unremitting efforts and tremendous sacrifice, and having paid a heavy price, China has secured major strategic outcomes in fighting COVID-19. I'm glad to say so. Although the pandemic affected China's economy to some extent, the fact that China's economy registered a growth of 3.2% in the second quarter of this year, a big rebound from a 6.8% contraction in the first quarter, which tells how the country is on track to achieve moderate prosperity in all aspects of time. Gentlemen, during the 71 years, the CPC has always been people-centered and striving for the welfare of the people. In year 2094, after the People's Republic of China was founded, the nation became independent with her people emancipated. However, at that time, China's agriculture production remained backwards, and most of the farmers were still poor due to the feudal land system. And the CPC led the Chinese people to carry out a nationwide agrarian reform and established a socialist system in the country. In 1978, the third plenary session of the 11th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China convened in Beijing, and during the meeting, China's policymakers decided to implement the reform and opening up policy. And thanks to these kind of efforts, poverty-stricken areas witnessed earth-shaking changes, which marked reduction of population living in the destitution and improvement of people's living standard. China has explored its own way of eliminating poverty and laid a solid foundation for comprehensively building a moderately prosperous society. Especially since the 18th CPC National Congress in 2012, the CPC Central Committee, headed by its General Secretary, Mr. Xi Jinping, has prioritized poverty reduction in national governance, highlighting its role in building a moderately prosperous society in all respects and realizing the first centenary goal of China. The central authority included poverty alleviation into the five-sphere integrated plan of China, which you're referring to all-round economic, political, cultural, social, and ecological progress. And also, the alleviation of poverty was also included in the four-pronged comprehensive strategy of China, which we're referring to comprehensively building a moderately prosperous society, comprehensively driving reform to a deeper level, comprehensively governing the country in accordance with the law, and comprehensively enforce strict party discipline. Gentlemen, the CPC has united and led all Chinese people in making that yield remarkable outcomes and have won high praise from the international community, including our Bangladesh friends. The total economic volume of China surged significantly over the past decades. From year 2000, China's GDP, which is equal to more than 14 trillion US dollars, ranking the second in the world. And China's GDP upwards total, and which is 4.9% higher than that of year 2012, which is the year when the 18th National Party's Congress was held. The revenue in general public budget exceeded 19 trillion yuan, which is also almost 2 times that of the year 2012. And China's foreign exchange reserves exceeded 3 trillion US dollars, ranking the first in the world. Per capita GDP and household income in poor areas is continuously rising. In 2019, China's per capita GDP reached 70,000 yuan, which means it exceeded $10,000 at that year. And higher than the average level of the upper income countries, which is the standard of the United Nations. The per capita disposable income of rural residents in poor areas reached 11,000 yuan, which is 1.8% higher than rural areas nationwide. Rapid, faster growth speed. By this year, altogether, 850 million people will be out of absolute poverty because of the endeavors we imposed during these almost 4 decades of campaign of poverty alleviation. And for the first time in China's history, we can eliminate absolute poverty nationwide, which is a remarkable and unprecedentedly tremendous progress in human history. Gentlemen, China has contributed to global poverty reduction and will continue to share China's success experience of eliminating poverty through development and promote international exchange and cooperation on poverty reduction. So you might already notice that when I talk about China's poverty alleviation, I use the word poverty eliminating. And I mentioned international, I may still use the poverty reduction or poverty alleviation. For more than 10 consecutive years, China has contributed to over 30% of the global GDP growth. In the past 4 decades, per capita income in China increased more than 25 times, with poverty rate dropping from almost 80% to only 1.7%, contributing to over 70% of global poverty reduction. And China will be the first developing country to realize poverty reduction as a UN Millennium Development Goal, or MDGs. As the world's largest developing country, China has always been an advocate, practitioner, and promoter of global poverty reduction. And in pursuit of this goal, China conducts South-South cooperation and also provides assistance to other developing countries, particularly the least developed countries, or LDCs, with no political conditions, restraints attached. In the past 71 years actually, China provided financial aid for over 400 billion yuan, or more than $57 billion to nearly 170 countries and international organizations, and carried out over 5,000 China aid projects, including a lot of those kind of projects in Bangladesh. And China dispatched more than 600,000 personnel and trained over 12 millions from other countries, and assisted over 112 different countries for their realization of UN MDGs. According to a recent research report by World Bank, the Belt and Road Initiative, which has been touched upon by many previous speakers, will help 7.6 million people out of extreme poverty and 32 million out of moderate poverty. It will increase trade in participating countries by 2.8% to 9.7%, and to increase global trade by from 1.7% to 6.2%, and global income by 0.7% to 2.9%. That is according to the recent research paper report by the World Bank. So the initiative of BRI is a veritable road to resources integration and a shared development and a shared prosperity. Gentlemen, China has found an effective path of poverty reduction with Chinese characteristics, providing a best practice case for the whole world in this regard. I think it can be summarized as follows. Number one, following a development path suited to its national conditions. President Xi Jinping stressed that modernizing a big country with a population of more than 1.3 billion is an endeavor never undertaken in the history of mankind. And this means China must pursue its own path of development, unquote. Poverty alleviation is a complex and massive systematic project. To create synergy, we must act in the actual conditions of each country, respect the law of the development, further unleash the potential of the country, and formulate a scientific poverty reduction strategy. That is the experiences of China that I summarized, number one. And number two, focusing on development. China undertakes development as its top priority for the last at least 4 decades, even more than that. Continues to liberate and develop social productive forces. Stick to the socialist market economy as the orientation of its reform creates a miracle of rapid economic development and lays down a solid material foundation for poverty alleviation. At the same time, guided by the conviction of new development principles, we seize the opportunity of economic globalization and a new round of scientific and technological revolution and industrial transformation, and regard science and technology as the key to decode poverty reduction. Number three, committing to the people-centered philosophy. Our poverty alleviation efforts help build the confidence and the capacity to pull themselves out of poverty, so that the process would be sustainable, self-driving. President Xi Jinping stressed that this is a society to be enjoyed by each and every of us. On the march towards common prosperity, no one will be left behind. Fourth, taking a targeted approach to poverty alleviation. Whether an anti-poverty campaign is effective and successful largely depends on whether or not it is targeted. Targeted poverty alleviation means preventing the use of average income figures, which is too rough to mask the situation of the majority. And it means paying greater attention to accurately identify the poor and giving them targeted assistance. Fifth, committing to win-win cooperation in opening up. China cannot develop in isolation for the rest of the world. And the world needs China for more balanced and inclusive development. We must consider the overall domestic and international situations, make good use of both domestic and international market and resources, correct, balance domestic development and our degree of openness to the outside world, and truly take into consideration both domestic and external demand to achieve a balanced development. Gentlemen, led by CPC, the Chinese nation is on a great course towards a wealthy, strong, and democratic country, and the realization of moderate prosperity in all aspects. China will also enhance experience sharing in poverty alleviation or poverty elimination, and national governance with our Bangladesh friends and political parties, with an even more profound and friendly strategic partner of cooperation between the two countries. China is willing to work with Bangladesh to promote our traditional friendship, consolidate the strategy cooperation, deepen our mutual trust, and usher in a promising future pictured both in the Chinese dream and the Sona-Bangla dream. Long live China-Bangladesh friendship. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your very in-depth speech and highlighting the Chinese achievements and the role of China for the global community. We appreciate that, and we hope that our friendship will continue to be more harmonious and more strong in the year to come. And the China-Bangladesh Silk Road Forum will be a pioneer organization to build the people's connection between the countries. And thank you very much once again for you and your team for nice work to Bangladesh. And we also hope that your efforts will continue in near future. And more projects will come and country will prosper and advancing very fast. Thank you. And thank you all the participants for their for your continuous support to the Silk Road Forum and to respond our invitation and give your valuable comment in the celebrating 71st founding anniversary of People's Republic of China and a special focus on the poverty alleviation. So thank you all. We like to end this meeting, and before going to end, I like to announce that the Bangladesh China Silk Road Forum website and Facebook, Twitter accounts all mentioned in our poster, which I sent all of you before the meeting. And this conversation will be available within an hour in the Facebook of our Facebook page. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you.